My name is Lorna Masika, and greetings to you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I am a mother of 3 beautiful children, 2 girls and 1 boy. Before I tell you my story, I want to let you know that I've always had very normal births, no complications in my pregnancies, whether getting pregnant or not, or giving birth. Therefore, when I got pregnant with my 3rd born, I knew it was business as usual. And this particular baby was the baby I prayed for. I prayed to God for a son after having had girls, and God granted my request. But little did I know what was to follow in the coming months. So at 5 months, I had a scan and everything was very normal. Baby was fine. And 2 weeks later, I recall coming from work, driving home through a lot of traffic. Reaching home, I felt like the urge to do number 2. I went to the toilet, and what I felt was a gush of liquid coming, a warm liquid coming between my legs. So I got toilet paper to clean myself, and because the toilet paper got soaked so much, I decided to look at it. So when I looked, I saw it was blood, a lot of blood. So I jumped from the toilet, and then I looked through, and I saw a big clots in the toilet. So, of course, I was scared. I asked myself, what is this? And I called the doctor, and I remember shouting to the doctor and saying that, doctor, the baby is in the toilet. The baby has come, is in the toilet. And the doctor said, calm down. Are you sure it's from the front, or maybe it's blood from the behind? I said, no, doctor, I don't have hemorrhoids, if that's what you're referring to. This is a lot of blood. So he said, why don't you clean yourself again and tell me if it's really coming from the front? So I sat on the toilet, I did as he said, and I told him the blood was even more. So he said, okay, how soon can you get here? I said, doctor, there was a lot of traffic. I tried to call my husband to see if she could take me to the hospital, but his phone was off. And then I tried to reach my other siblings. When I tried to reach my siblings, they were also stuck in different parts of the town. And I knew that they wouldn't be able to reach me. So I tried to help myself. I got into my car in that state and took my Shambo boy and told him that, I'm going to drive up to the hospital. I have this situation. If I can't drive any further, please call Daddy, my husband, and tell him where we are. So anyway, by God's grace, as we were going to Colorado, where the hospital is, the cars on the road gave way by God's grace, because the traffic was horrendous. But by God's grace, we managed to reach the hospital in 30 minutes. I found the doctor already waiting for me. He had prepared his team. A scan was done, and it showed that I was 9 centimeters dilated. I wasn't feeling any pain. I didn't have labor, but my cervix was dilated, ready to give birth. And baby was very okay in his sack, playing, not aware of what was going to take place. Anyway, the doctor tried to stitch me. Those who know the medical field know that a stitch cannot be done at that point. But the doctor, and I'm very grateful to that doctor, the doctor that God used, he tried to stitch me to see if baby could stay in. The stitch held for just a few days. Which was also very good, because it gave baby enough time to receive there's a certain medicine that is given to help the baby to grow the lungs. I can't recall its name, but that gave the baby some time for the lungs to grow, so that when if baby decided to still come out, it would still live. So that held for a few days, and then eventually, I went into labor, normal labor, like any labor of a 9-month pregnancy. I gave birth to my son naturally, and the doctor, after pushing my son, I saw he was put on my chest. He was so tiny, just 600 grams. The doctors gave him a score of 3 out of 10, and rightfully so at that point. He came into the world, and I could see he was still figuring out where he was. And of course, my heart was broken because I could see that he wasn't ready. He was so fragile. Anyway, he was rushed to the incubator, and all these wires were put on him. His eyes, his ear, the monitor of the heart, the breathing, oh my goodness, all types of wires. Yeah, so anyway, I started my journey of visiting baby every day. I was first of all discharged from the hospital after 2 days, and then I had to start coming to give milk. So I started pumping. I thank God. God gave me an overflow of milk. My baby never lacked milk in the NICU. I always brought milk. And then I started kangaroo. And then I went through the entire process in the hospital, which was so a lot for me to handle. Seeing my baby with all these wires, when I could actually be receiving my baby at 9 months, whole and okay, not needing all this support, was a painful experience. The experience knowing that I failed to carry my own child was very painful for me. Seeing my son grow up in an incubator when I had a free womb was a very painful experience for me. Of course, I thought the baby went through a lot of torture when he should be being received in the world, being cared for, receiving tender, loving care. He was always being tossed around in the NICU. There's nothing wrong with the hospital. It's the way they look after the babies, to be honest. So no fault to the hospital. But it always seemed like torture to me. The baby had to go through 3 blood transfusions, which is very normal for those babies because they can't make blood on their own. They need support. So we had to get that blood. My blood group is rare, and baby had to be put on those. And when baby is put on that blood transfusion, he can't eat. So baby cries for almost 24 hours. No eating, on blood, and there's nothing the nurses can do because baby has to, that is the best way for baby to live without complications. Baby also received a lot of injections for different types of medications because those babies need to be supported to boost their immunity such that they don't, if they catch diseases, they are strong enough to survive, but also it's a preventative tool. So baby was always injected. They were always looking for veins on his feet, on his hands. They cut off his beautiful hair, looking for veins in the hair. I said, oh my goodness, why baby should be receiving care, like tender care, but look at what he's going through now. Helping him to make poo, would have to put some glycerin to him to allow him to poo. I mean, all that. Baby is not enjoying his time here. He's, according to me, he's under torture. Of course, the breathing I told you already, or you may have guessed that he was put on oxygen, CPAP first, and then later a certain type of oxygen, I can't remember. But it's a lower version of CPAP. And also he was tested for retinopathy of prematurity, which is about the eyes, to see if he'll be able to see in the future. And they said he had stage 3, ROP3, and he was injected in both eyes. I saw that with my own eyes. It was painful. Seeing an injection, the one that people put in the bottle, going directly in my baby's eyes, one eye after the other. I couldn't believe it. I was devastated, broken and shocked. Everything was too much for me, to be honest. And of course, feeding the baby, they had to change the feeding tubes. I think they used to change them weekly or bi-weekly. Open the baby's mouth, put through the throat, its baby cries. It was just too much for us. So baby was there for 3 months. My husband would come and visit. My husband works out of town, so he would visit weekly. My husband is a strong man, but the first time he saw baby on those wires, he cried. And we were so helpless. There's nothing we could do to help our baby or to reduce the pain that he was going through. All the torture, as I like to call it. There's nothing we could do. We were helpless. We could only wait on God. And that is actually what we did. Yes, I came. I gave the milk. I did kangaroo. And then I always prayed for my son. I prayed for God to hear me. For my soul, because my soul was crushed. And I told God that I prayed for this son from you, but I didn't expect that this is how I would receive him. Very difficult for me, for the family. It wasn't a source of joy. It was painful for us, but not forgetting the bills. The doctor had already told us that we should plan for $2 million shillings, per day. So if we were in the NICU for 3 months, you can do the math, what our bill was. Insurance couldn't cover us because it said that for both my husband and I, for our companies, it said that the maternity cover was not to the extent of prematures. So there was practically no cover. But I'm grateful to my insurance company, which eventually contributed 9 million shillings. Yeah. And so the constant phone calls from the hospital for money was also more torture. We were trying to deal with the situation, but the money also was there knocking at our door. The baby was discharged. I remember, I think he was discharged around Valentine's Day. And he came home. The siblings were all happy to see him. We welcomed him really. We were very happy to have him home. And that was the start of another journey. Caring for him, we needed to be extra careful, clean, sanitize, wear different clothes, cover our hair with head gear. Everything was different. It wasn't the same as for the other babies. And of course, baby needed 24-hour care. Baby had a monitor on his foot to monitor his oxygen saturation. So it would give him little. So he would feed almost every 30 minutes and 24 hours. So I first started with nurses to help me. The nurses were expensive, 200,000 per day. I couldn't take that bill. And then I tried to work with maids, but many maids couldn't work. The schedule was too tight. It was just looking after baby, but it was hard work. And I would understand when they wouldn't manage. So as the mom, I took over that role most of the time. When I would try to give my maid to take over in the night, I would find them sleeping. So I found that I could only trust myself with a baby. Because remember, this was 24-hour care. My son could only take meals little, not like full-time baby. You take little. And like say maybe 10 to 30 meals at most. And he would, if he took a lot, he would resuscitate. He would bring back the milk, all of it. And yet we were trying to make sure that baby grew. I'm not sure if I mentioned that baby was born weighing 600 grams. But the time we were discharged from the hospital, he was just a kilo. And he was still weightless. Like, if at 600 grams, he was so tiny, like he was like a dot in my eyes. Even at 1 kilogram, I always felt like I needed to look for him. If I put him in a bed or bed sheets, I would need to find him. Like, he was that tiny. So if we were very conscious that baby had to feed well and slowly, like you had to be patient. You could feed him 30 meals for almost an hour because he would suck slowly. If you rushed it, the milk came back. And so most people wouldn't sit in a position feeding the baby for an hour. They got tired. I couldn't trust the maids completely with my baby because when the few times I would try to say, okay, it's my turn to rest, I would come and find the maid sleeping. There's even one where the baby almost fell from the hands, and I just happened to step in at that point. But as a result of that 24-hour care, my body was stretched. I was fatigued, distressed, all that. Yeah. So anyway, what I can say is that baby eventually grew. Baby is coming to 24 months now. He hit all his milestones. He can walk, he can sit, he stands. The doctor actually at the hospital, and that's specifically Nakasero Hospital, said that baby actually did very well for his age. He didn't have any complication. He just kept moving forward and forward and forward. And he was like, he's a testimony. So baby is now doing very well. He's a very happy child. He gained weight. It's very hard to tell that he's a premature if you didn't know that he was a premature. And then, of course, we're just waiting for him now to talk. He's only left with speaking, but he's able to do everything else. If you talk to him, he understands, he listens. If you didn't know he was a premature, you would never think he's a premature. He fits in well with other kids. He's not autistic. He doesn't have Down syndrome. He doesn't have any of those complications. So when I look at him every day as he does his work, as he moves around, as he jumps, my heart is full of so much warmth and joy. He fills my heart with so much wonder. I can't believe that from what I consider a tiny pea. He's just this human being that he is. And I believe that God has great things in store for him. I thank God for my son. And of course, I thank God that that between my husband and I, we were able to put our arms together to clear the bills at the hospital. I thank the hospital for reaching a payment plan with us. They were patient with us. We paid their money over a year. And yes, it was paid for having the creditors follow us every week. But I thank God that we cleared that part of our lives. And we are very happy. Our family is happy once again. And yes, even my marriage which was getting shaky around that time, was restored. I thank God for that blessing.